The message arrived on a Tuesday. Commander Isla Reyes stood in the central chamber of the United Earth Parliament, her boots planted firmly on the lunar regolith beneath the transparent floor. Above her, Earth hung like a blue-green jewel in the void. Around her, 200 representatives from Earth's unified nations sat in tense silence as the holographic projection of Envoy Marvek hovered in the center of the room. The Galactic Council has determined that Earth's resources have been inefficiently allocated, Marvek said, his translucent form flickering slightly. 6 eyes blinked in uneven patterns across his elongated face. As such, the Council has voted to reassign stewardship of your solar system to more deserving members. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Reyes remained still, her face impassive. 15 years commanding Earth's defense initiative had taught her that showing fear was the quickest way to lose a battle before it began. Envoy Marvek, said Premier Joe, rising from her seat at the head of the assembly. Earth signed the Galactic Charter in good faith. We've honored all trade agreements, maintained the designated sanctuaries, and contributed our quota of resources to interstellar projects. Indeed, Marvek said, his voice a modulated purr, but you've also hoarded technological advancements, refused to increase your extraction quotas, and maintained a suspiciously large defensive capability despite the disarmament treaty. Reyes fought to keep her expression neutral. The defensive capability was largely her doing, a network of satellites and orbital platforms disguised as research stations and communications relays. After the Council had forced Earth to dismantle its fleet 50 years ago, she'd convinced the Parliament to rebuild in secret. The Council's decision is final. Marvek continued. You have 14 Earth days to prepare for the transition. Resistance will be met with appropriate measures. The hologram flickered out, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Premier Joe turned to Reyes. Commander, what are our options? Reyes stepped forward, her mind already cycling through contingency plans. We fight, she said simply. We've been preparing for this possibility for decades. Against the entire Galactic Council? A representative from the African Union objected. Their fleet outnumbers ours 100 to 1. Numbers aren't everything, Reyes replied. And they've never faced humans in actual combat. She nodded to her communications officer, who activated a secure channel to her executive officer. Lieutenant Arun Patel's face appeared on the small screen embedded in her wrist guard. It's time, she said. Initiate protocol, Umbra, and get me Dr. Lin Tao. Patel's eyes widened slightly, but he nodded. Yes, Commander. Umbra protocols engaged. Dr. Tao is at the L1 research station. I'll patch him through. The screen split, and the disheveled face of Lin Tao appeared. Dark circles underlined his eyes, evidence of another sleepless research binge. Commander, he said, straightening. Is it happening? 14 days. Dr. Tao, is the Aegis system ready? A slow smile spread across Lin's face. Oh, it's ready. They won't know what hit them. Reyes turned back to the Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to ratify Emergency Protocol 17 immediately. We must move our civilian population to the underground shelters and activate all defensive systems. This could mean war, Premier Joe said, her voice grave. Reyes looked up at the Earth hanging in the blackness above them. With all due respect, Premier, war is already here. The only question is whether we fight or surrender. The vote took less than 5 minutes. As the Parliament dispersed to implement evacuation protocols, Reyes made her way to the command center, buried deep beneath the lunar surface. Lieutenant Patel met her at the entrance. his tablet displaying real-time data streams from sensors scattered throughout the solar system. "Council vessels are already on the move," he reported. Long-range scans show their flagship, the Equilibrium, has entered the Kuiper Belt. Support vessels are converging from all directions. "How many?" "At least 300 capital ships, Commander. And that's just what we can detect." Reyes nodded, processing the information. "What about our assets?" "The Aegis satellites are in position but dormant. Guerrilla teams are deployed on Venus, Mars, and the outer moons. The underground bases are fully operational and stocked for a prolonged engagement." They reached the central command hub, a cavernous room lined with screens displaying every corner of the solar system. Officers moved with practiced efficiency between stations, their faces tense but focused. Reyes took her position at the central console. "Open a channel to all EDI forces." The communications officer nodded, and a small light on Reyes's console turned green. "This is Commander Reyes," she began, her voice steady. "As of 0800 hours, the Galactic Council has declared its intention to seize control of our solar system. We have prepared for this day. Each of you knows your role in the defense of our home. Remember your training, trust your teammates, and never forget what we're fighting for." She paused, looking around at the determined faces of her command staff. "The Council believes we will surrender without a fight. They think because we signed their disarmament treaty, because we've played the part of the obedient junior member, that we've forgotten how to defend ourselves. They're about to learn how wrong they are." She squared her shoulders. "Initiate electromagnetic blackout. Activate the Aegis network. May God have mercy on them, because we will not." Reyes, out. The screens around the room flickered as Earth's communications network went dark. To outside observers, it would appear as if humanity had simply turned off, gone silent in the face of overwhelming force. But beneath the silence, the machinery of resistance hummed to life. On the L1 research station, Dr. Lin Tao watched as his team finalized preparations for what would likely be the most important hack in human history. "Are you sure this will work?" asked his assistant. Maya, her fingers flying over a holographic interface. Lin smiled grimly. "The Council's AI network is sophisticated, but predictable. They've never had to defend against a determined human attack because they've never considered us a threat." He gestured to the massive quantum computer that took up most of the room. "Besides, we've had 50 years to study their systems. Every trade delegation, every cultural exchange, every inspection. We were gathering data, learning their weaknesses." Maya nodded, but her expression remained doubtful. "And if they detect our intrusion?" "They won't," Lin said with quiet confidence. "Not until it's too late." He moved to his own terminal and began the final sequence. "Initiating Protocol Ghost. Let's show them how humans hack." The station hummed as the quantum computer spun up to full power, channeling its processing might into the most sophisticated cyber attack ever conceived by human minds. 7 days passed in tense preparation. The Council fleet continued its inexorable advance toward Earth, its commanders no doubt puzzled by humanity's silence, but confident in their overwhelming superiority. On the 8th day, the flagship Equilibrium entered Earth orbit, followed by a vanguard of 50 assault frigates. Envoy Marvek's message was broadcast on all frequencies. "People of Earth, your time has expired. The Galactic Council now assumes control of this system. Dismantle your remaining defenses and prepare for occupation." In the Lunar Command Center, Reyes watched the fleet's formation on the tactical display. "Predictable," she murmured. "Just as Dr. Lin said they would be." She turned to Patel. "Signal all teams. Execute Phase 1. Throughout the solar system, hidden transmitters activated, sending precisely calibrated signals to the dormant Aegis satellites, the innocuous-looking platforms, disguised as debris or small research modules, suddenly awoke, emitting powerful electromagnetic pulses targeted specifically at Council communication systems. Aboard the Equilibrium, Envoy Marvek was in the middle of dictating terms of surrender when the ship's communications array abruptly failed. Emergency lights bathed the command deck in crimson as system after system reported failure. "Oh, what is happening?" he demanded, all 6 eyes blinking rapidly in distress. "Unknown, Envoy," replied the ship's captain, frantically working his control panel. "We've lost contact with the assault frigates. Internal communications are degrading. The AI network is experiencing anomalies." "Fix it!" Marvek hissed. "How can primitives who barely understand interstellar travel cause this level of disruption?" On the L1 station, Lin Tao watched with satisfaction as his team's virus spread through the Council's network. Years of studying their protocols had revealed a fundamental vulnerability. The Council relied too heavily on their artificial intelligence systems, which were designed to be efficient rather than secure. "They're trying to purge the virus," Maya reported, monitoring the Council's response. "But it's replicating faster than they can isolate it." Lin nodded. Phase 2. Plant the false retreat signals. With a few keystrokes, Maya sent the command. Throughout the Council fleet, navigation systems suddenly began receiving emergency retreat orders, apparently from Fleet Command. Ships that had been advancing on Earth abruptly changed course, some colliding with each other in the confusion. "Signal Commander Reyes," Lin said, unable to suppress a grin. "Tell her Phase 2 is complete. The fleet is in chaos." On Venus, Sergeant Kira Novak led her squad through sulfuric acid clouds, protected by advanced environmental suits. Their target, a Council frigate that had descended to establish a forward base in the Venusian highlands. "Remember," she told her team through the tactical comm, "silent approach, no energy weapons until we breach their hull. We want them confused, not alerted." The squad moved like ghosts through the toxic atmosphere, using the perpetual storms as cover. When they reached the frigate, they attached magnetic clamps to its hull and began cutting their way in with molecular blades that emitted no detectable energy signature. The Council crew never saw them coming. Within 20 minutes, Novak's team had secured the vessel, neutralized its crew with neural disruptors, and begun the process of reprogramming its systems to broadcast false intelligence back to the fleet. Similar operations were unfolding across the solar system, on Mars, on Jupiter's moons, even in the asteroid belt. Small, highly trained teams striking with surgical precision, turning the Council's own technology against them. In Lunar Command, Reyes monitored the progress with grim satisfaction. "Phase 3, she ordered. "Activate the magnetospheric traps." Earth's powerful magnetic field, long studied by human scientists, had been secretly augmented over decades. Now, that augmentation was weaponized. Powerful electromagnetic fields suddenly intensified around the planet, creating invisible but impenetrable barriers that disrupted Council ships' propulsion systems. Frigates that had been advancing on major population centers suddenly found themselves drifting helplessly, caught in what seemed like natural magnetic anomalies but were in fact carefully designed traps. "They're completely disoriented," Patel reported, unable to keep the amazement from his voice. "The larger vessels are trying to compensate, but our countermeasures are adapting faster than their systems can respond." Reyes nodded. "What about the flagship?" "Still in high orbit. They're attempting to re-establish communications with their fleet, but Dr. Lin's virus is preventing any coherent signals from getting through. They're effectively blind." "Good," Reyes said. "Keep the pressure on." I want them questioning everything, their technology, their intelligence, their superiority. Aboard the Equilibrium, Envoy Marvek was doing exactly that. The Council's carefully planned occupation had dissolved into chaos in less than 24 hours. Half his fleet was adrift. Communications were compromised, and the humans, the primitive, supposedly defenseless humans, had yet to fire a single conventional shot. "I demand reinforcements," he shouted into an emergency transmitter, hoping the signal would reach Council space. "The situation has been grossly misrepresented. Earth has defensive capabilities far beyond our intelligence estimates." The only response was static. "Boss, this is impossible," he muttered. Pacing the command deck, they were disarmed. "We verified it ourselves." "Envoy," the ship's captain interrupted. "Long-range sensors are detecting movement from Mars orbit, multiple signatures, accelerating toward our position." Marvek turned to the main view screen. "Show me." The screen flickered to life, revealing a formation of sleek vessels emerging from what appeared to be hidden bases beneath the Martian surface. Human dreadnoughts, weapons platforms that should not exist, moving with predatory grace toward the Council fleet. "All vessels," Marvek ordered, his voice tight with newly discovered fear. "Converge on Mars. We will make our stand there and crush this resistance once and for all." On Luna, Reyes watched the Council fleet regroup, exactly as she had predicted they would. "They're taking the bait," she said softly. "Signal the Mars Defense Group. Prepare Silent Storm." Lieutenant Patel relayed the order, then turned back to his commander. "Are you sure about this? Once we deploy the gravity distortion mines, there's no turning back. The Council will consider it an act of war." Reyes met his gaze steadily. "Lieutenant, they declared war the moment they decided to take our home. All we're doing is defending what's ours." She turned back to the tactical display. "Besides, these mines won't kill them, just make it impossible for them to fight. The Council has never faced an enemy that didn't try to destroy them outright. They don't know how to respond to an opponent who simply wants to neutralize their ability to do harm." As the Council battle group approached Mars, human forces made a show of retreating, drawing the enemy ships into a carefully prepared killing zone. Hidden throughout Mars orbit, thousands of small, undetectable devices waited silently. "They're in position," reported the tactical officer. 90% of the Council fleet is within the target zone." Reyes nodded. "Execute Silent Storm." Throughout Mars orbit, the gravity distortion mines activated simultaneously. Unlike conventional weapons, they didn't explode or emit radiation. Instead, they created localized distortions in space-time itself, minute gravitational anomalies that played havoc with the delicate systems of advanced spacecraft. Council ships, designed for the predictable physics of normal space, suddenly found themselves in an environment where gravity fluctuated wildly from 1 meter to the next. Navigation systems failed. Propulsion became unpredictable. Internal gravity plating malfunctioned, sending crew members careening into walls and ceilings. Simultaneously, swarms of signal-jamming drones deployed from hidden bases on Phobos and Deimos, Mars's moons. These tiny machines surrounded each Council vessel, broadcasting frequencies that interfered with both their internal and external communications. The flagship Equilibrium, pride of the Council fleet, suffered worst of all. As it began its descent toward the Martian surface, intending to deploy ground forces, the concentrated effect of dozens of gravity mines disrupted its structural integrity. The massive vessel began to break apart, not from any explosive force, but from the simple fact that different sections of its hull were experiencing different gravitational forces. From the command center on Luna, Reyes and her staff watched in silence as the Council flagship disintegrated in slow motion, its spine twisting and snapping like a toy in the hands of a careless child. "Signal the railgun platforms," Reyes ordered quietly. "Target any section of the flagship that remains capable of offensive action. Precision strikes only. I want their weapons disabled, not their life support." From concealed positions on Mars and its moons, electromagnetic railguns powered up, targeting the broken pieces of the once mighty vessel with surgical precision. Hypersonic projectiles tore through weapons arrays and propulsion systems, ensuring that even if the crew survived, they would pose no threat. Across the solar system, the pattern repeated itself. Council vessels found themselves paralyzed, disoriented, and unable to fight back against an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move. In the face of this unprecedented defeat, surviving Council ships began to withdraw, scattering in confusion. To aid their retreat, human forces deployed one final deception: false wormhole projections that appeared to offer escape routes but actually led deeper into the solar system, where more traps waited. By the time the Council realized the deception, it was too late. Their forces were scattered, their flagship destroyed, and their invasion plans in ruins. To ensure the message was received beyond Earth's solar system, Lin Tao's team intercepted and rebroadcast the panicked transmissions of Council commanders across all known frequencies. Throughout the galaxy, other civilizations would hear the mighty Council military brought to its knees by a species they had dismissed as primitive and defenseless. 3 weeks after the Council's ultimatum, Earth's skies had gone silent once more. The shattered remains of Council vessels drifted in controlled orbits, under guard by the human fleet that now openly patrolled the solar system. In the Lunar Command Center, Commander Reyes stood before her staff, her face showing the fatigue of 3 weeks of constant vigilance, but also the quiet pride of victory. "We've intercepted a communique from the Council High Command," Lieutenant Patel reported. "It appears they're acknowledging defeat, though not publicly." "What exactly do they say?" Reyes asked. Patel read from his tablet. "Withdrawal from Sol system complete. Indigenous resistance exceeded all projections. Conventional military doctrine proved ineffective against asymmetric tactics. Most disturbing aspect, they didn't seek to destroy us, merely to neutralize our capacity for aggression. Recommendation: formal recognition of Earth's sovereign status and non-interference agreement." He looked up. The final line simply says, "We didn't know silence could kill." A murmur ran through the command center. Reyes allowed herself a small smile. "Make sure that communique reaches the Parliament, and prepare a delegation to meet with whatever representative the Council sends to negotiate terms." "You think they'll negotiate?" asked a junior officer. "After what we did to their fleet?" "They'll negotiate precisely because of what we did," Reyes replied. "We could have destroyed them completely, but we chose not to. That's a message even the Council can understand." She turned to the main view screen, which showed Earth hanging serene and untouched against the blackness of space. "Besides, we've never wanted conflict. All we've ever asked is to be left in peace to determine our own future." "And if they come back?" Patel asked quietly. Reyes's expression hardened. "Then we'll remind them again why you don't mess with humans." In the days that followed, human dreadnoughts maintained their vigil above Mars, silent sentinels guarding the graveyard of Council ambition. Earth began the process of rebuilding its defenses openly now, no longer hiding its military capabilities beneath a veneer of compliance. Dr. Lin Tao returned to his research, this time focusing on developing early warning systems that could detect Council vessels long before they reached Earth space. His experience during the conflict had transformed him from a theoretical scientist into someone who understood the practical applications of his work in defending humanity. Sergeant Novak and her team were honored in a quiet ceremony, their actions on Venus credited with providing crucial intelligence that had helped turn the tide. She accepted the commendation with characteristic stoicism, already planning improvements to her team's infiltration techniques for the next potential conflict. And Commander Reyes faced perhaps the most difficult challenge of all, balancing the newfound martial confidence of humanity with the wisdom to use that power responsibly. The victory over the Council had awakened something in Earth's population, a reminder of their capacity for both ingenuity and destruction. 6 months after the failed invasion, a new Council envoy arrived, this one with a very different message. Earth would be recognized as a sovereign power, equal to any Council member. Its borders would be respected. Its resources would remain its own. In the rebuilt chamber of the United Earth Parliament, Reyes stood at Premier Zhou's side as the agreement was formalized. The new envoy, a different species than Marvik had been, spoke with careful respect. The Council acknowledges the unique perspective that humanity brings to galactic affairs, the envoy said, choosing words with obvious care. We believe there is much we can learn from each other. As equals. Premier Zhou signed the treaty with a flourish. We have always believed in peaceful coexistence, she said, but peace requires mutual respect. The envoy inclined its head, a lesson we have learned at considerable cost. Later, walking along the lunar surface near the command center, Reyes and Lin Tao watched Earth rise over the stark horizon. Do you think they'll honor the agreement? Lin asked. Reyes considered the question. I think they'll honor it because they know the alternative. We've shown them what happens when they underestimate us. We got lucky, Lin said. We had decades to prepare, to study their weaknesses. Next time might be different. That's why there won't be a next time, Reyes replied firmly. We maintain our strength, our vigilance, but we also extend a hand in genuine cooperation. The best defense isn't just having the means to fight, it's creating a situation where fighting is the least attractive option for everyone involved. She turned to face the scientist. That's the real lesson here. Dr. Tao, not just that humans can be formidable when cornered, but that true security comes from a balance of strength and wisdom. Lin nodded slowly. I've spent my career trying to understand alien technology, alien thinking. But in the end, it was understanding our own human nature, our creativity, our adaptability, our determination. That made the difference. Exactly, Reyes said. The Council failed because they saw us as primitives playing with technology we barely understood. They never considered that our greatest weapon wasn't our ships or our satellites or even your brilliant virus. What was it then? Lin asked. Reyes smiled, looking back at the blue planet hanging in the void. Our humanity, the very thing they dismissed as our weakness, turned out to be our greatest strength. As they walked back toward the base, a communication came through on Reyes's wrist guard. Lieutenant Patel's face appeared on the small screen. Commander, long-range sensors have detected unusual activity near the edge of the system. It doesn't match Council signatures. Reyes's expression turned serious. New players or natural phenomena? Unknown at this time. We're gathering more data. Keep me informed, and alert the defense grid. Passive scans only for now. She ended the transmission and turned to Lin. It seems our work is never done. Lin nodded, his eyes already distant, mind working on new problems, new solutions. Good thing humans are quick learners. Together, they walked back into the lunar base, ready to face whatever challenges the universe might bring next. Earth hung above them, a testament to humanity's resilience, a world that had faced the galaxy's greatest power and taught them a lesson they would not soon forget. Never underestimate those you believe defenseless, and never, ever mess with humans.